Good morning, everyone. I know the coffee is probably getting to wearing out, so I'll try to keep this exciting. Now, I've been in data for close to 30 years. The first 20 years of it, data was pretty boring. Then about 10 years ago, with big data and everything, we started to get more of the spotlight on us, and everyone started getting excited about data. And then only a few years after that, generative AI came, and those guys stole the spotlight from us. But now we're fighting back because they're realizing without the data, it's mostly a novelty. So as much as Claude may have said GenAI is dead, it's not. I mean, BI is dead, but it's not. First of all, we're witnessing the evolution of BI turning into something way more powerful because everybody is trying to become increasingly data-driven. There are a number of factors that are helping this happen. First and foremost, the new technologies are making it very easy for everyone in an organization to interact with data. That whole story about becoming data-driven is finally happening. That means that we're moving from static dashboards to more dynamic, conversational, insight-driven data analytics. The second thing is limited access. We used to have limited access to data. It's increasingly getting democratized because you can have everyone in an organization, should you decide to give them access, be able to interact with that data and get some value, even in operational roles or customer-facing roles, which, or the earlier presentation was about how you make it more real-time, more quicker, and that's one of the key enablers or key requirements for that. The third thing is that most of you here, I'm assuming, are data professionals. So we used to be the technical gatekeepers, and that's a polite way of saying we used to kind of be the bottleneck for a lot of reporting and analytics. And now we actually have self-service capabilities for practically all skill levels. And last but not least, this is pretty critical, we're moving from being reactive in analysis to being proactive in intelligence. Now, all of these changes, all of these trends are changing the data landscape. For starters, data volumes are growing exponentially. A while back, we had unstructured data, not so valuable for most use cases, for most business use cases, and then structured data. Then we had streaming data come into the mix. Suddenly, unstructured data became valuable because of all the model building, and structured data has always been valuable, but the volumes just went more than 10x when you start combining all these different workload types. This led to even more complex and distributed data environments, and the speed requirements, more real-time, more timely, became increasingly important because data doesn't age well. So, what is the solution? You need to take your analytics to where the data is. You need to process the data at the source and as close to where it's generated as possible, because the old model of let me take data from all my different sources, run it through an ETL job, and deliver it to a target works for certain types of workloads, but not everything. So federated approaches and bringing analytics to the data is supposed to be now a critical part of your architectural blueprint. And then contextual insights. Contextual insights means semantics, means a shared understanding across your organization so that everyone looks at the same data and figures out the same thing rather than having differences in opinions out of it. One critical thing that's happening right now, we're moving from asking our machines and AI analytics frameworks to show us the data to having conversations about what that data means. Think about that for a second. Almost every solution that you see these days has some conversational interface, and it also suggests follow-on questions also starts to do reinforcement learning. So in the background, it learns from what everybody else is asking, what answers they're preferring, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then making sure that that intelligence is spread across, not just about pure data, but also the meaning of that. To do this, you need to meet the users where they are, right? The old way, we used to have separate BI tools, and that requires a lot of context switching. You go from one window to the other, one application, one operational source to a different one, and context switching is expensive, both in computation, and it's also pretty exhausting. If I do like 15 different calls for 10 minutes each, that's more tiring than if I sit through like, 4 or 5 one-hour meetings, right? It also introduces a bigger learning curve and also creates siloed insights. So the left hand sometimes doesn't know what the right hand is doing. You create 2 different reports. They don't look alike. So moving forward, the future of this is embedding analytics into existing workflows, not just applications. I'm not talking about, let me just put like a graph or a chart into my existing application that already exists. But with the agentic approaches, workflows are the new dominant modus, and putting the embedded analytics into the workflows is becoming top of mind. You need to put intelligence into the same familiar applications so that people don't have to do a lot of context switching. Seamless integration, where people are familiar with things, it's actually easier to adopt and start using. And analytics should become as invisible as possible as an assistant. So I asked Claude, and I said, what would Henry Ford say about the direction of analytics or business intelligence if he were alive today? What he's saying is, what Claude said is, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. If we ask users what they want from BI, they'll say better dashboards. What they truly need is intelligence so embedded, they don't even realize they're using it. Obviously, Henry Ford did not say this. I have a quick question. Who is using ChatGPT here? Who is using Claude? Who has played with Replit? Okay, few of you. You should check out all these different solutions that are out there, because today you can just go and build applications super quickly, and you can just describe, I think in the previous presentations this was talked about, the time to prototype has shrunk so much. Coming from product management background, it is mind-boggling. I mean, it is amazing. Play with it, super easy, and then test it for yourself. One thing that it creates is this false impression that everything is so simple, I'm going to quickly put together a React app and it's going to replace my reports and dashboards. That's not really exactly the case, because data management is a lot more nuanced than that. What hasn't changed? Efficient data engineering pipelines. You need to have high-quality data visualization. You need to have a reliable reporting infrastructure that gives consistent, trustworthy answers. You need to have adaptive interfaces, because now you're bringing way more of your user base or employees into the new user base. And robust data access and governance. We talk a lot about democratization of data. Democratization does not mean that you give everyone all access to all the data. It means that you actually can control your data so granularly that everyone who has access to the data can reach that data in a timely fashion. Great storytelling is critical, as we heard from our first presentation as well. But it requires rich, accurate visualizations and trustworthy data. It has become way more competitive with the amount of information that we have to cram into how we present it, that to be top of mind, to attract the attention for important pieces of insights, you have to make sure that you're choosing the right and rich and meaningful way to show it. In the past, the data density on each chart was way lower than that. Now we're using so much more data in each of these charts that visualizations, rich visualizations, are absolutely critical. Next, controlling the data layer, or controlling every layer, from authentication, how users enter the system, to security of the content, security of the data, and how you customize the experience. All of these steps have to be acutely managed in order for you to be able to make this self-service a reality. The foundational blocks of what you do still have self-service dashboards, self-service reporting, self-service analytics. You need to be able to do pixel-perfect reporting. You need to be able to have governed dashboards. And you need to create developer-built experiences so that what you do in your analytics framework can be brought to the workflows and applications that your users on a day-to-day basis utilize. Now, let's get back to AI, because if I don't say AI every maybe like 15, 20 seconds, something feels off, right? Moving forward, we need to build things that are AI native. It is changing everything we touch, everything we do. And that also means that we need to make things more future ready. That means compelling narratives that connect data to business outcomes, not just show the data. It means recommendations that are actionable. This is happening, so you might want to consider, or you might want to do X, Y, and Z. Take it one step further, tie it to agents, and execute business processes as an outcome of your analytics framework. It's starting to happen, slowly, but it's starting to happen. And then seamless delivery within existing workflows and existing applications, because even with the fastest change and adoption, your users will appreciate that familiarity. Ultimately, we talked about data-driven for the last decade, but the goal is not to be just data-driven. It is to be insight-activated. That's where we create value. That's where we impact business outcomes. And what this means to you as data leaders, investing in upskilling your teams for AI-enhanced BI, rethinking your data architectures and how you approach analytics, and prioritizing integration of analytics into your workflows. And for the BI practitioners, embrace natural language. It's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be the primary form of interacting with data. Focus on your storytelling. Not just the visualization, not just representing the data, but what is the story behind that data? And then develop hybrid AI human analytical approaches. Because this whole human in the loop, not human in the loop, agentic, all these frameworks are shifting the processes as much as it's shifting the technology. You need to have a hybrid approach. So, GenAI is the evolution of BI. It's not the replacement. The fundamentals of good BI remain unchanged. We still have to manage our data. We need to do good housekeeping. AI amplifies what was already working. That also means that it highlights what is not working, and you get in hot waters much faster because it's in the hands of so many more people, and it attracts so much more attention from people previously not that interested. And I'll tell you, the future belongs to those who combine the best of both. So, on a light note to finish, Mark Twain famously said, or did not say, the reports of BI's death has been greatly exaggerated. Instead, we're entering its golden age. Thank you. I'm at the booth at Insight Software. We have some very interesting solutions that implement some of the things that I discussed today. Would be happy for anyone to stop by and have a conversation and show you some of the exciting things that we're working on. Thank you.